Welcome back to Axis and Allies E40 on the 2 or Less channel, and a play test of the house rule Big C, Big Air. If you haven't been following this series, this is only going to be the second video. I don't expect them to be a third video in this series. Big C, Big Air is very briefly, if you have a fully functional, or your power has a fully functional C base, you get 10 IPCs to spend only on C units, and if you have a fully functional air base, you have 5 IPCs extra to spend only on air units. There are other rules around how that's dished out and what qualifies them, and I'll stick them up there just about now-ish. Okay, there you go. We're back again. Let's start off with Germany. We are on turn number 7, or just finished turn number 7, and it's been mostly, I would say, a reinforcement round. There has been a little bit of battling and fighting, but the main core battles of pockets of resistance, should we say, have been wiped out in their futility, and it's now been a case of really bulking up where we think the major battles are going to take place on turn 8, turn 9, we'll see. Now the Germans, they took one of their tanks from Vologda and just went on a little bit of a ram raiding through the Urals and Novosibirsk. I'm sure it's pronounced much better than that in some quarters. They also moved units forward from their Novgorod factory, Leningrad, and into Smolensk, Archangel. Belarus has moved forward. They're not that strong there, Germans. However, the Russians had a decision of who to attack after pulling back into Russia itself, with infantry pulling back and planes loading in or flying in there from southern Russia. They made a decision to attack Vologda, which had 8 tanks, plus I think it was 4 mechanised infantry, and they actually did rather well on their first roll, and they reduced the German presence down there to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tanks, and all the mechanical infantry have been wiped out. There was a possibility of rolling again, pressing that attack. However, we didn't want a really good roll wiping out Vologda and all the Russians having to move into there and vacate their chancellery. So yeah, it was a decision that went a little bit too good first time, shall we say, but it's probably right not to have pressed further forward. Down in slightly more southern Germany, southern Russia area, down here, the Germans, I believe, already had the Romanian factory back, but they used their air fleet, is that right, to attack Bessarabia and reduced quite a lot of the units down there. There was a small infantry attack as well, and really and truly, whilst the German presence isn't big here, the Russians is a lot smaller, and they don't have the funds to keep on building from Ukraine. Could we have pulled them back? Well, you've got to make a stand somewhere, and 2 pockets of resistance is, I think, the maximum we can really expect the Russians to do this time. Over in southern and western Germany, can we put this down without knocking things flying? We can. We have the Germans really building up their central core. They have 4 coasts. Western Germany has a coast, Holland, Belgium, and Normandy, Bordeaux, as well as Denmark right at the top. If they can protect all of those, it stymies any kind of British seaborne invasion, amphibious invasion, with enough units, because the Brits are themselves helping the Americans, or the Americans are helping the Brits, whichever it is, down on the Italian invasion coast point thingy-majiggy. So the Germans are split always. Apart from the Atlantic Sea Wall, they're moving units into southern France that is still owned by Italy, even though Italy have lost their chancellery, and been shipping units into northern Italy because the Italians have lost there big time. So it's really up to the Germans to try to help out the Italians. I really can't see that happening. I think it would be one region too many for the Germans to try to take back and hold with any kind of longevity, shall we say. The Americans have been loading units in from Morocco across to southern Italy. They've been flying planes in from Morocco, etc. They've been loading units from America land back into the Gibraltar Straits region. They're all in Morocco at the moment. Basically, the conveyor belt is working beautifully. The Brits are doing a very similar thing. Their factory is now getting into full production. They're moving units in. There was an idea of Italy taking these two units that were in Albania and Greece and helping the Germans in Romania, but they figured, well, if they can hold somewhere, if they can hold Greece, the Brits don't invade Greece, because if Brits take Greece and Albania and ignite Yugoslavia, Brits are going to get another 5 IPCs every turn, and it's not going to be helpful to the Italians to give up on that region. And the strength that they have, they're not going to really be helping the Germans that much up there. So these are all the units that are in southern Italy. They're on a fleet trade marshalling yard, whatever it is. Obviously, with the Americans now having their factory there, they are able to build 3 artillery units there, so it's quite a strong presence. I think the Germans are going to have to think very, very hard about covering northern Italy and filling that with infantry without losing control of southern France, because obviously this one big coast comes all the way round. It's looking like a very tall order now for the Axis forces to get anything from this game. However, we will see what happens in round number 8. Well, that is turn number 8, done, and it's been quite a belligerent round in the Mediterranean. However, we're going to start off over in Russia, as we often do, with the German advance. They have moved their tank from Novosibirsk through Samara into Volgograd to take the Stalingrad factory. Reason being, it's not the IPCs, it's the production centre that the Germans have now got. They can produce from here and from the Novgorod Leningrad factory up the top there. So it's looking like they'll be able to continue this pressuring and this squeezing of the Russian central state and taking Moscow itself. However, that was before the Brits came in. We'll get to them in a fraction of a second. There was some German units in Bessarabia and Western Ukraine. They squeezed back to the Ukraine factory. They cannot just have 3 German production centres on their doorstep. So let's go to the Brits here. We have to sort of sequence in how the turn game's played, but don't worry about that. The Brits had in Egypt, just down here, one of these tanks, 2 artillery and the mechanised infantry. They loaded those onto 2 transport and went 1, 2, 3 and dropped those into Yugoslavia. They were going to go into southern Italy or northern Italy, but the Americans did a good job there. We'll come to them in a second. Yugoslavia was already partly ignited with some resistance forces from a failed Italian attack quite a few turns ago. But with the Brits moving in there and a French plane landing in just to help out things in the non-com moves later on, the Germans that are here now in their factory in Romania, and presumably the troops in Bessarabia and these guys that are in Slovakia, Hungary, have got to watch out because the Brits are on their doorstep. Now, they are in on the doorstep because of this massive American attack on northern Italy. I like big dice rolls. It floats my boat, shall we say. The Americans had some guys over in Morocco, loaded them through 4 transport ships, 8 units came in. The sea bombardment was 2 battleships and 2 cruisers. They smashed the mainland. The amphibious invasion down on the beaches, they smashed them. And the guys that were already in southern Italy, they went into northern Italy. And it was just massive. But the Americans had to support them as well from the air base in southern Italy, 2 strategic bombers, 2 tactical bombers, 2 fighters, a combination total of 20 infantry and artillery making their attack, and of course the bombardment too. They had about 30 hits, 30 dice to roll, and had 16 hits on the combination of a few Italians and a larger contingent of Germans. They basically one-rolled them, and in reply, the Allies the Axis did 3 damage to the Allied. Minor concern. That did allow the Brits to make this move into Yugoslavia because the Americans are so strong there, and you can see how strong they look. They got a massive contingent of artillery. Just wrecked already, which is me and my fat fingers, which is going to be looking at southern France or central France next turn. What was looking like, I had an idea that the Germans were looking strong enough to withstand some of this invasion at one point in time, but seeing how much how powerful the amphibious bombardment has been, and the amount of units which are now shipping in, I cannot see any way back for the Germans. I would like them to have a better shot at it, but it's not going to be. The Germans did, on their turn, had built another 4 submarines, which had moved into 105, and the submarines that were in 113 had come down into 105 to build a little contingent in there. The Brits did a sterling job. 2 bombers came over from the UK, and their 2 destroyers that were in Sea Zone 91 went into 105, and basically it wasn't quite one roll, it was in 3 rolls, but they took the 6 German subs out, losing just 1 destroyer themselves. So well done the British Navy. Apart from that, we've had this movement, more reinforcements coming over from America. It's looking pretty strong there. The conveyor belt is going wonderfully. So all that is left, I think, is to tidy things up, and I will see you on round number, or at the end of round number 9. Well, that's turn number 9 done, and so are the Russians. It is all over Red Rusky. You remember that the Germans had made this deliberate and belligerent attempt to push through into Russia and get the job done quickly. Well, with the amount of Allied forces piling through into the heartland of Germany and the German amalgamated states, they decided to really sort of go through and try and press this attack in one go. They had Strat bombers, they had TAC bombers, they had tanks, and it was a bit of a one-sided affair because they also had the dice on their side. What was scheduled to be somewhere slightly harder for the Germans, they outrolled the Russians 12-3 on the first round of rolls, 12-3 second round of rolls. Russians were gone. 6 damage to the Germans is a minor amount compared to how much we thought they were going to lose. We'll go across to the Brits slightly out of sequence. The reason why the Germans really wanted to get the hurry up on here was that this amalgamation. The Germans doing it so easily has forced the Brits and the Americans to push their luck a little bit. Now the Brits themselves, slightly out of turn sequence, but it become clear as to why. They were in Yugoslavia and northern Italy, and they have combined their units and moved forward into greater southern Germany. There was, I think, just the 6 German infantry in here, and the Brits rolled through powerfully, hardly a scratch on them. French have come through and helped to reinforce them with one of their aircraft. The Brits have got a couple of airplanes here, can now come up and meet them. There is a transporter that we still have down here in the Adriatic Sea, and the Italians have come through and just nicked Yugoslavia back because they're just being pest. Now it does look like a bold move by the Brits. They are on the doorstep of Germany, but Germany can reinforce by just building units in here. They have 3 infantry in there anyway, and some units in Slovakia, Hungary, and some fast movers that can roll their way through from the west. And obviously, all this tank division going to try and catch up at a certain point in time and get back to the main new centre of action. However, it's not such a bold tactic by the Brits as it would first seem. Yes, they're going to face some pressure, especially with all this air fleet that can fly over and drop a whole heap of hurt onto them. And this massive unit in Western Germany can come in. However, the Brits also made a spoiler attack way up here, taking some units from the United Kingdom across into Denmark with their bombers. And unfortunately for the UK, or fortunately for Germany, whichever side you're rooting for, it was a stalemate. There was no infantry, no artillery left in there at all. So Germany still control the Straits of Denmark and are preventing the Brits from getting in around the top, or even the Americans coming in and around the top. So it's good for the longevity of the game, good for Germany. It's also good for the Brits because it does provide a distraction. This big pile of infantry that could potentially attack Greater Southern Germany or defend Germany itself will now have to pull back into Denmark. At least a portion of them. We're not quite sure how many are going to have to go in there yet, but we're going to find out on Germany's turn. To continue the distraction, the UK, who'd saved a huge amount from their turn 8 buy, spent loads of it on transport and units. They can now, I think, load 8 units into Denmark next time if things all play out that way, and they do continue to go that direction. It's not a guarantee that they're going to continue going that way, because over to the American side of the battle, America took their units from northern Italy and have pounded into southern France and took that again fairly easily. So whilst Germany wouldn't want to lose France or Normandy Bordeaux, they may have to think about giving up on that to get units back into this mini skirmish where the Brits are. But to continue distracting and keep harrying the Germans as much as possible, the American fleet have set sail from Sea Zone 95 and got themselves out into the Atlantic. They can meet up this next turn, come out turn number 10, with a fleet that's come over from eastern United States and can attack Sea Zone 105, Normandy Bordeaux, can get themselves into Sea Zone, is it 110, the English Channel, and attack Holland Belgium. And of course the Brits could get into there with their seaborne attacks. So it's distractions all around for the Germans. Apart from what's already on their doorstep, stuff's coming in. There's going to be a lot of thinking before the Germans decide what to move and where to move it. Clearly, defending their central homeland chancellery is going to be hugely important. That's really does go without saying. However, it's how much do they commit to attacking the Brits that are already here, attacking the Americans that are already here, or defending to prevent the oncoming onslaught. We'll find all this out in turn number 10. It's very exciting right now. In a change to our usual prescription for demonstrating this game or this house rule after the turn, I think it's getting a little bit complicated here in the Central Europe, and it's possibly easier to explain my thoughts before the battling takes place, and then we'll show you the results at the end of turn 10 as we have done before. Now, the reason why it's getting complicated, we're on to Germany's move now. As I said at the end of the last clip, what and where do Germany defend? And I think their tactic over in Russia of attacking and pushing themselves forwards rather than defending has worked out quite well, and they have freed up some units and they have freed up some pennies to spend. However, the units that are freed up are a long way away. So we have to really just think about they can arrive maybe in 3 or 4 turns time. Until then, Germany have to hang on. Now, in southern France here, America have, I believe it's 8 infantry, 6 artillery. It's not strong, but it's strong enough. If Germany were to attack from Normandy, Bordeaux, it leaves the beaches empty. If they were to attack from France, I think a combined attack there would possibly squash the Americans' advance, but would leave themselves vulnerable to an invasion on the coast. So I think keeping these units here out of the attack is a good move. We do, however, also have northern Italy can be attacked from western Germany, but some of these units have to go up to Denmark to protect the Danish Straits, stop the Brits and the Americans coming straight in around the top. So all we can really muster here in terms of an attack are these 3 bombers from eastern Poland. They can reach down through and hit both of these regions, southern France and northern Italy. Southern France has the most amount of infantry artillery, but northern Italy have all this air wing here. Now, okay, the bombers are only defending at once, but it's quite strong with the artillery, with the fighters and tactical bombers that are there. I completely forgot what they were called for a moment. So we're going to use 2 bombers versus southern France, just the 1 bomber versus northern Italy. We're going to use some of the infantry from West Germany to aid the bombing attack. We see how long they last for, and these units from France are going to go into southern France to aid that bombing attack. Other than that, I think it's going to be a shuffle backward, not a complete give up on these coastal regions, but certainly shuffle backwards towards Berlin itself to try to maintain control of their chancellery. Obviously a very important thing to do. These Brits here, we could attack them too. There are enough infantry to have a little bash if we wanted to. However, the Brits, whilst they have 2 fighters here in Italy, northern Italy, which I think are still going to be there, the Brits' factory nearest is really in Egypt, so they're going to have a problem reinforcing themselves. So I think attacking them at this stage will be a drain on resources, whereas Germany could just happily let them be and make sure they have enough of a strong core themselves before then coming forward and attacking the Brits maybe in turn 11 if Germany feels strong enough at that point in time. So I shall roll all this out and continue with round 10 and see you at the end of that. Well, that is the end of turn number 10. We're on to turn number 11 when we kick off with Germany. However, I think it's going to be the last turn in this game. I think if you are the German player, you are already waving the white flag. We'll go for a quick reprise of what had happened. Really and truly, it was a barnstorm of an economic damage idea by the Americans, which has worked out pretty good. The Germans did try to attack back. It's not always the case of the attack is the best form of defence. However, they tried to limit what the Americans could do by attacking from Western Germany into Italy and attacking from France into southern France. It was semi-successful in terms of they were both even battles, and as much as Germany lost, America lost too. And they couldn't obviously press forward from Western Germany because of the pressure they were being put under by the UK's build-up of forces coming across the Channel. So they had to pull off in a half-hearted fashion, and they were bringing units across back from the Russian front. They've got quite a bit of protection in Germany Central, in the Berlin state. 6 fighters, they can do some damage. However, I don't think there's enough firepower there to really say that Germany have a shot of defending anymore. The American air base that was in northern Italy has moved into southwestern Germany, is this, or southeast Germany? I can never remember. Or was it Greater Southern Germany? Probably that one. To help support these Brits that are in here. And there's obviously a few fighters and a few bombers on the fleet tray. Brits have moved some of their planes in there too, making use of that. but they've also moved some of their planes into Western Germany. They've done that because the Americans managed to smash through from Italy and their fast-moving tanks from southern Italy and move into Western Germany. It was the remnants of the German attack on them, I thought would have been enough, but it wasn't enough to hold the Americans back. So America moved into there. Britain piled across all of their faster moving infantry artillery, or cheap infantry artillery should I say, into the gap between Denmark and Holland, Belgium. Germany had some submarines there, hoping to spoil any kind of amphibious assault, but no assault was necessary because America were already into this region, and the Brits just sunk the subs for fun. The American fleet that was in 104, again, Germany bought subs to try to protect Normandy, Bordeaux. So America went, okay, we're going to go up around here and into Holland, Belgium. It was a bloody battle, a lot of losses. America only have, I think it's 4 artillery left from their amphibious assault. However, the job is done. America also decided, play a bit of gamesmanship. They attacked from southern France into France and managed to reduce the Germans down to 1 unit and didn't press the attack. Reason being that if they did press the attack, France would become alive again and would take over this base down here, meaning America couldn't purchase or couldn't place 3 units into this little factory. So a bit of gamesmanship, bit of fun, but it kind of works out, I think, as a correct move to do. Not a lot else more to say, apart from big British fleet up here protecting the North Atlantic and an American fleet in the English Channel protecting that region and being used as a big sort of shipping point. America do have a little hiatus in terms of units coming over. They have 5 units in the middle of the Atlantic, protected by a cruiser and a couple of destroyers. And they wanted a battleship because they could afford that. Why not indeed, when we got this little bonus of sea and air money coming through. But again, they are a bit shy of units coming across, but they do have now 1, 2, 3, 4 factories. In fact, that one should be a minor factory. We'll stick it on its side just to remind us, because factories get reverted to minors when the region is invaded. So I think really and truly turn number 11 will be the end of this game if Germany haven't already waved the white flag. But I will see you there. Well, that is the end of turn number 11. You've got to say that everybody loves a tryer, and Germany did give it their best shot. As you might be able to see from the remnants of, well, there's a tattered remains of an American army here, couple of mech, couple of artillery and a tank. The Brits could get through what they could. They were attacked in Greater Southern Germany from Slovakia. It was a good battle. There is no more airfield in anywhere because there's enough planes to necessitate that. The Germans did try and press back. Slovakia-Hungary attacked Greater Southern, and Greater Germany itself, the big central Berlin state, had a little pop at Western Germany, reduced some of the forces down, but they didn't have enough firepower and enough places to build units to reinforce. It's always fun in the happy hour at the end of the game. I could play it through another half a round and see if these units that have been built in this last turn can come forward and catch up and liberate Germany, but it's not going to happen. And why flog a dead horse? So. That's it. I'm calling the game here. It was a victory for the Allied, and it was also a victory for proving that this house rule, this big sea and big air, is a valid house rule to play with. I think it works especially well on this one half of the board. I'm not so sure it would work playing the Pacific half of the 1940 global map, and I, as I said before, it would need a tweak to make it work for global. taking away some of those IPCs, rather than 10 for sea and 5 for air, if you gave that to us, to the Anzacs or to China, it would be a ridiculous imbalance. So if you want to give this a go with Europe 40, be my guest. Let me know how you got on in the comments below. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you did too. Last thing to say is that I make these videos in aid of a charity called the Cure Parkinson's Trust. You'll find a link to them below this video and one in the banner on the homepage. If you happen to have a spare IPC or the whole German Chancellery, you could send to them. I'm sure they'd appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time, and I will see you sometime soon. Be cool.